Do Americans realize how gorgeous nature in the US is? We absolutely do. I've seen some beautiful nature here in Europe, but visiting the western US had me in awe. Not just the well-known spots such as Yosemite and the Grand Canyon, there's so many spectacular deserts or desserts. I don't know why that word tripped me up because I read it plenty. Let's just stick with desserts. There's so much fantastic ice cream out there, separated from huge mountain ranges by a few miles of impressive flat valleys. Do Americans in the city realize how gorgeous the nature is over there? And do people who, for example, live in the Bay Area or in LA sometimes make a trip to some of these exceptional places? I know that cities like LA and whatnot are not exactly known for their gorgeous nature, but I've done some of the hiking trails in LA. And even though they might not be traditional, they're still very pretty. But yeah, I feel like the majority of people that live here are very aware of how gorgeous the landscape can really be. Even in the most boring places, stereotypically, like, you know, here in Colorado, people always make fun of, well, once Pikes Peak, the mountain, disappears, and you're in Kansas, it's all flat, boring. I don't know, that's still really nice. I've driven through the length of Wyoming, north and south, like 20 times in my life alone, and it's always incredibly gorgeous, despite being, what is it, still the least populated state? It's so pretty, and it's mostly hills, and sometimes you can see the mountains from the highway, sometimes. But yeah, I think all of us are very well aware. That's why we're really protective of those national parks. What do you do with ice in drinks? Oh, geez, I don't know. I recently had ice in my drink for the first time in my life, and I have so many questions. What do you do with it? Do you just wait for it to melt? Do you try and ignore it? Do you have to drink at the same pace the ice melts at? I think you're really overthinking this. If not, what do you do with the leftovers? Eat them, wait for them to melt, and then drink it, throw them away? Dude, it's not that deep. It's just there to keep your drink cool. That is it. What are you asking this for? It's not some religious experience. No one cares what you do with it. July 4th. Is it okay for a foreigner to display an American flag? I don't know why not. I lived in the US for the last some odd years and loved it here. Love the people, love the country. Usually when it's July 4th, my neighbors are hanging American flags. Everyone in the neighborhood knows we're not Americans. Do people will feel offended if we display an American flag in front of our house as it's technically not our flag? The intent is to celebrate and pay some respect. I don't think anybody in their right mind should ever have a problem with you doing that at all. Hell, they probably wouldn't even have an issue if you did put your flag out with it. You know, that's the entire point of America, or the United States rather, is that we're a big melting pot of a butt ton of different people from all over the world, united under one banner, trying our best. I know the news headlines would absolutely try to get you to think differently, but I think for the most part, we're all pretty cool with one another. For the most part, still got lots of problems we gotta work through. Keep that in mind. I don't think anybody should have an issue at all. No one's gonna come over and go, hey man, that's not yours. Like, dude, you live there. You live here. Of course it's yours. As long as you're here, it's yours. Even if you're on goddamn vacation, if it's yours, you want it, go for it. What's something that foreign visitors complain about that virtually no one raised in America ever would? On the one hand, a lot of Americans would like to do away with tipping culture, so that's not a good example. But on the other hand, a lot of Europeans seem to find our drinks too cold. Too cold? How's that possible? That's like complaining about sex that feels too good. Oh man, I can't really answer that one either. It's a little tough. Sorry, you know, all of us Americans are very different. I do, to certain extents, understand the too cold thing. Maybe it goes back to that guy that was surprised about ice and didn't know what to do with it. I like a cold drink. I do. I like a cold drink. I like a warm drink. I like a room temperature drink. My thing is mainly water. I prefer room temperature water. Why? Because I take huge chugs of water, okay? And if it's really cold, it hurts. It hurts me so bad. Also, sensitive teeth and whatnot. I've seen plenty of complaints online of people saying Americans are too loud and too friendly. They should come to Seattle. Americans keep complaining about the Seattle freeze because we don't acknowledge or talk to strangers. You know, I have heard specifically a lot about the Seattle freeze. I know it exists. I grew up just a few hours away from Seattle, all right? I heard about it, but whenever I visit, people talk to me. They do. They're very open and normal, like all loud, friendly Americans and whatnot. Also, maybe they complained about it later when I wasn't around, but I've always heard people are totally fine with the loud, obnoxious, but because they're friendly, it's okay American visiting. I mean, there are certain places where I would refuse to be the loud, obnoxious guy. I mean, I talk loud. The volume I'm talking at you right now is my normal volume. It really is. I don't think we're as rambunctious as the world likes to pretend. I think the world just feels or wants themselves to feel more refined and less outgoing. Like in Finland, for instance. They're super quiet. You could hear a pin drop on their trains most of the time. But on my way out of the country on a train, it was the loudest train I'd ever heard. But everybody always likes to say, oh yeah, we don't talk to each other over there. We absolutely don't converse with anybody. I don't know, I had conversations with strangers over there. Really nice people. It's just most people don't make the first move. I'm staying on this topic for too long because I'm a friendly, talkative dumbass. I've had visitors from Ireland and Germany who got upset that the windows in my home open up and not out. Yeah, everywhere I've been outside of the US and maybe Canada, that's been a thing where the windows do open out. That when you pay at a restaurant, the server takes your card in the back rather than bringing a machine to you and swiping in front of you. My father-in-law is always like, why are they taking your card? Where are they taking it? I can't see them. They're stealing my info. I know they're not, but I do kind of wish more restaurants did it at the table. Or like when you go into Chili's, for instance, and they have those little kiosks that are super convenient at the table, but they never work. They're always dead, dying, broken. Please keep them fixed. I've befriended an American exchange student in my studies abroad in France. As this will be his first Thanksgiving away from his family, how can I help out? Honestly? Well, let's see what the rest of your question really entails, right? Hey everyone, so since August, I've been away as an exchange student in France. Here, I met a very nice guy from California. We've become quite good friends. I asked him about Thanksgiving, and he said that this would be his first away from his family, and he was a bit sad. Therefore, I wanted to see if I could do anything to make a kind of Thanksgiving, but as I'm not American, I only have a faint idea of how Thanksgiving works and the traditions involved with it. Thank you in advance. Before I move on to any of the answers, I can safely say you can kind of do anything. Sure, you might be looking to give him something more traditional, but you don't need to do that. You could go the Charlie Brown route and just give him jelly beans and popcorn. It doesn't really matter. The whole point, and you know, as an adult that doesn't really go home to visit family for Thanksgiving anymore or anything like that, it's mainly about Friendsgiving. All we really want to do is hang out and eat a butt ton of food. That's really the main thing I can tell you, and he'll appreciate the shit out of that. Y'all are in France, correct? Don't go out of your way to get stereotypical Thanksgiving foods. The number one thing about Thanksgiving is to surround yourself with friends and family and being thankful for what you have in your life. If you still feel so inclined to do something, give them a memorable France Thanksgiving with several small dishes of French foods. That would give them a lovely memory to hold on to. Yeah, you don't need to go out and find a giant turkey or cranberry sauce or anything like that. You don't need to worry about that. Just find some good food. I can safely say, no matter what you're eating, he's going to appreciate the shit out of it because he knows that there are welcoming people out there that, even though they don't have the same traditions, are more than willing to give it a go. And that's the important part. That's the whole goddamn point of Thanksgiving, is to be thankful, right? And I'd be pretty damn thankful if some new friend of mine decided to throw me a little Thanksgiving get-together because I was a bit sad about not being able to see my family. Why are so many things in America exciting, bright, colorful, over-the-top, larger than life compared to the subtle, gray, and downright boring European way of doing things? Look, I don't really know. I think it's all to sell something. I think that's mainly it. In short, Chuck E. Cheese. I know it's a kid's restaurant, but what the hell? This is brilliant and utterly wild. A colorful animatronic dancing band at the front of a restaurant. If you pitched this idea in England, you'd be laughed out of the building. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. There's a reason why there's so many videos on YouTube of foreigners looking around American grocery stores and getting so excited. Consumerism is great, I guess. Also, another example. You called a supermarket Piggly Wiggly. I love it. I would be skipping through the doors. You know, it's funny, I did hear that one of the big chains for grocery stores here in the US, King Soopers, is apparently, or has apparently been bought out by Piggly Wiggly, so I guess they're going to rebrand them or something? Or another fantastic example of exactly what you're talking about, the American gas station / convenience store. They're insane. They're goddamn crazy. They themselves are fun to stop at on road trips. It's fantastic. It's super hilarious stopping at just a random gas station station and being able to get everything from painkillers to propane. It's really crazy. Also, unfortunately, my favorite gas station in the world, Come and Go, is going to be rebranded as something else, which is garbage. I think it's lame as hell. Also, you think Piggly Wiggly is crazy? You should take a look at Jungle Gyms in Ohio. I think it's in Fairfield or something like that. Because we're here to party. That's the truth. Look, life can be pretty boring, so it's nice that even if it's going to Target, it's something stimulating and fun to do. I know it sounds stupid, but at the very least. How do the rest of you feel about how Texas legally allows the slaughter of doctors just to produce Dr. Pepper? Oh, I got over that a long time ago. This is the real reason we can't expand Medicaid. Pissy sh***s. Is this a real thing? Oh my god. Okay, let's read it, but I'm gonna tell you something. I was recently talking to some American friends, and they brought up pissy sh***s. They claim it's an American tradition to pour Pepsi into popcorn at the movie theater and eat it. I thought they were pranking me, but all of them claim it's real. Are they telling the truth? Do they really do this? I don't need another Redditor's opinion on this one. No! I guarantee you, this friend of yours was making fun of British people and the way they nickname their famous foods, like Banger and Mash, Bubble and Squeak, Spotted Dick. They're making fun of that. We do not have pissy shits, and if we do, I'm glad that it's basically universally unacceptable. They are so screwing with you. They'll probably offer to take you on a snipe hunt next. Ah, the snipe hunt. California just banned private prisons. My fellow Americans, how do we feel about this? Thank God. No private entity should be contracted to incarcerate people. I don't care if this saves costs. Incarceration needs to be 100% the responsibility of the government. Yeah, private prisons are goddamn f***ing disgusting and inhumane, horrible places. And I know what you're thinking. Well, if they're there, they deserve to be tortured and enslaved and all this. What about all those people who were caught with a joint in their pocket? Do they deserve that? I don't think a lot of them do. It's just, goddamn, I think a lot of people do forget that when you are convicted and you become a prisoner for a long time, legally speaking, you're a slave. You are allowed to be enslaved. United States high-speed rail system that we're never going to fucking get ever. If I could, I'm not even kidding, if I could never set foot on a goddamn plane again in my life, I would do it. Now, of course, I have to fly places in order to get to Finland, or anywhere in Europe for that matter. I need a plane because I'm not getting on a goddamn boat either, okay? But holy crap, I would never set foot on a plane to get anywhere in the United States ever again if there was a true, real, amazing, well-kept, high-speed rail system. Travel time at 220 miles per hour. Can you imagine being able to get from Denver to Los Angeles in 6 or so hours? I would love that! I would pay triple the ticket price of your average flight to be able to do that. And I can fly to LA in like 2 hours. But I'd rather be on a damn plane. Significantly more I'm sorry, I am autistic. I could rant about how much I would prefer to travel on trains until the day I died, but we don't have that kind of time, guys. Americans, did you have any idea Russia's military was so weak? This is anecdotal, but the whole digging trenches in Chernobyl thing really sums it up in my mind. Digging trenches where now? Excuse me? Oh, good lord. Good morning, USA. British tourist here. Yesterday, a stranger told me that my shirt made me look like a pimp. Was I complimented or insulted? Let's see the shirt, pimp. OP's shirt. Honestly, it really depends on who was saying it to you, I think. Which state has Americans who are the most prideful in their state and always tell people they're from there when out of state? Ooh, Texas. End thread. I guess, but as someone who's been a Colorado transplant since 2014, Coloradans love Colorado, okay? Not that they would have any reason not to. As someone from Washington, not DC, I'm sorry, I have to make that distinction every time I say it, because whenever someone says, "Where are you from?" I say, "Washington." And they go, "Oh, DC? No, I didn't say DC. Sorry, I'm a little bent out of shape about that. I'm sorry. Aside from Texas, gotta be Colorado. Aside from Texas. Because, yeah, Texas, they're crazy. They're crazy for Texas, all right? But out here, I think it's just the pride in the strides that the state actually makes moving forward, because Colorado is a pretty strong leader in a lot of things. How can you guys have so many factories devoted to cheesecake? This is either a solid post or a genuinely entertaining question. Every day I work the cheesecake lines that I may scrape up enough money to buy one rock and roll album. We have a cheesecake factory in Cleveland that pumps out restaurants. That part's easy. The hard part is a separate factory needs to print out all the 40-page menus. They also do CVS receipts. I'm sorry, but the Cheesecake Factory kicks ass. I love the Cheesecake Factory a lot. I will probably die there someday, just saying, because I'm a cheesecake freak. I absolutely am. And look, if we must bear the cross of having too many factories devoted to cheesecake, I think all of us Americans will bear that cross forever. And we will do it proudly for the rest of the world, because it needs to be shared, okay? What do you think about the U.S. Senate approving a bill to make daylight savings time permanent? Oh, thank you, Jesus. Look, I think we're all kind of sick and tired of daylight savings time. It's just annoying at this point, and I don't think it's really serving anyone a real purpose anymore. Because wasn't the whole idea to help farmers out or something like that? But in reality, when we fall back, everyone thinks, oh, I get an extra hour of sleep, which is great. It's cool watching the clock go from 2 a.m. to 1 a.m. Neat. However, what really sucks is now, on this gray, cold, windy, shitty autumn day, it's going to be dark at 4:45 p.m., and that does not help anyone's seasonal depression at all. Not that eliminating daylight savings time is going to eliminate that. I'm just saying it's a factor. Americans, have you ever experienced a culture shock in your own country? Yeah, actually. I live in Japan, but when I go back to the U.S., I'm completely shocked about how many choices there are for the smallest things, especially food. What kind of bread? Wait, don't you guys have a pretty awesome assortment of crazy things to choose from in Japan as well? I know that that's probably like a 7-Eleven type choice, but still, what kind of bread do you want for your sandwich? What kind of dressing you want? What kind of meat you want? What kind of cheese, toppings? I see what you're saying now. How do you want the bread cut? Toasted? How about sides, baby? You know, you do have a point there. Me, it was mainly a language thing, not an actual language, more of a slang thing. When I lived in Ohio for a few months as a kid, I found that where I'm from and all of the other places that I've lived, usually you say pardon or what? You know, if you missed what somebody said. I say pardon a lot. I go, oh, pardon me? What? Huh? But over there, at least in my tiny little experience, they would sometimes say, please? Please? Like, well, wait, what? Luckily, I was told about that, so I didn't go, what the f*** are you saying to me? But it still took me off guard the first time I heard it. And again, I don't even think that's like an actual Ohioan thing. I don't, because I haven't been back in like 500 years, so I don't know. Ohio's been doing pretty cool lately, though. Is it true that Americans don't sleep at noon? What? In my tropical country, we work from 7 to 12 and 1 to 5. We have 1 to 1.5 hours for lunch and a noon nap. Oh, so you're treated like people over there. Without sleeping, we become tired and miserable in the afternoon. I hear that Americans never sleep at noon. You don't get tired at all? Oh no, we do, but we're encouraged to drink coffee and just suck it the f*** up, because on average, I think most people here will get a 30-minute lunch. They get to eat, get immediate food coma, and then are expected to finish off the last 4 or 5 hours, whatever of their day at work, like that. No, most Americans do not sleep at noon, even in the hotter areas. People do take naps, but most young, healthy adults do so rarely and not on a schedule. Many, if not most buildings in the US have air conditioning to beat the heat. So, I've spoken to everyone in England, and we're pretty much all on board. We'll need to agree to drive on the right, or sorry, we will agree to drive on the right if you guys agree to use the proper date format. Deal? Oh, everyone in England signed off on this? All right, cool. I actually learned recently that driving on the right side is actually the norm, I guess. And what I mean by the norm is that apparently 163 countries or territories drive on the right-hand side of traffic, whereas 76 are on the left. So that's what I mean by the norm. But the date format, yeah, I think we're like the only holdouts in the world to have the month first. And the only reason I can think of in my head is, well, smaller number first, because it only goes up to 12, but the days can go up to like 31. Right? And then the years can go up to 1 billion. But no, I'd say deal. Do you realize how adorable it is when you say the word squirrel? Wait, we all say it pretty differently. How is it that you just merge the 2 syllables together so smoothly? Like the way you say squirrel is so satisfying and honestly really cute. Welcome to my 11 p.m. thoughts. Good night and good morning. Wait, I've heard people say it differently, obviously all across the world, you know, but here, I think it's going to come down to a dialect thing. You know, if you're in the South, you might say it differently than me. I've always said that my particular American accent is the most vanilla of them all, being from the Pacific Northwest. I don't really have a whole lot of unique fun cadence. The transatlantic accent's fake. There's not really much for me up there at all. When I moved to Colorado, I had some accental changes and whatnot, but squirrel? Squirrel. 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 Yeah, I think we just say squirrel. A lot of us will just say squirrel. We just kind of remove the second R. And the E. We just skirl it up, brother. Cut to me saying squirrel 40 times, trying to hear it. Yeah, that's what I just did. Please help. My first American party. What does it mean, drop by from 2 to 5 for a party? What's the polite time to arrive, and how long should I stay? I have not been to a party thrown by Americans before, and I don't want to be rude. The invitation says, drop by from 2 to 5. Does this mean I can come anytime between those hours, or should I come at 2? Do I stay? Yes, you can just show up basically whenever in that time frame, as the party's just going to be going. P.S. This is a retirement party for a person I worked with a while ago, but I do not know them that well. Should I bring a gift? I don't think that's necessary. Drop by anytime within those hours, leave when you must. Americans will be pleased you made an appearance, however brief. This, definitely. Even just showing up and chatting for 5 minutes leaves a much better impression than not arriving at all. This applies to all types of events, not just parties, weddings, funerals, graduations, whatever. Just show up. That's really all you have to do. I mean, yeah, it just sucks if no one shows up, then we're just gonna cry for the next 3 weeks. Is it normal in the US to talk to strangers? Yes, very. My first stop in the US was Boston, and I was really surprised that strangers talked to me so often. They approached me and asked what language I was talking, or complimented me on my shoes, or some other random thing. To me, that felt so weird. Don't get me wrong, I think it's nice, and I somehow liked it, but it's very, very uncommon where I come from. In 29 years, that happened just a few times, and usually at night by some drunks who want to beat you up. Oh yeah, people never shut up here, which is one of the reasons I never shut up. I think that's a big part of American culture, is just being outwardly friendly. We've got pretty decent hospitality, and we just like learning about other people, you know? Especially when we don't get a whole lot of folks, or rather, the individuals like myself. I don't run into folks from other countries very often here. I know of maybe 3 that I've run into in the past year here in the US. One of them works at a Best Buy, and the other 2 definitely work at our Olympic Training Center, and they're from Australia. It's just kind of rare. It's fun to go, whoa, where are you from? Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. It's just neat. We want to learn about people. It's fun, especially because of how bored we can get. If visiting America, what's something that a person should never do? I talk to foreigners often and get this question from time to time. I was wondering if you all had some good ones. I always tell them, if pulled over by the police in America, absolutely never get out of your vehicle unless asked to. I would say that's a pretty good one, because you're going to give them a fucking heart attack. First off, they'll probably escalate. You know, you just stay in there, right? I honestly don't know of much else. I'm a bad American because I just don't really care about those little things here and there. I genuinely think that for the most part, by and large, we really just don't give a shit. Okay, some people might have expectations, right? Whatever. But I feel like most of us don't, especially if we know you are not from here. Like, if the national anthem starts playing at a baseball game, you know, you totally have the choice of standing up, taking your hat off. You have the choice. But if we know that you're not from here, especially, we're not going to really care. Like, I didn't care in school if some kid didn't get up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hell, I stopped doing it at a certain point. I was never forced to. You know, we don't have those expectations, and I do genuinely feel like the majority of us don't have those expectations. Sure, you're gonna run into some Billy Bob or whatever out there that's like, you better stand the fuck up, you know, because whatever, they had too many $40 beers at the game. I don't care. But most of us feel like, genuinely, most of us do not give a shit. It's just there are certain things maybe for your safety that I am not aware of. What are criticisms you get as an American from non-Americans that you feel aren't warranted? That we're all loud. Plenty of quiet folk, you probably just can't hear us over the loud ones, especially when traveling abroad. You aren't going to hear the quiet Americans, just the loud ones. Quiet and polite, totally under your radar. You can be loud and polite. It's totally normal to be like, hey dude, you need to calm it down, because I feel like most of us will go, oh, I'm so sorry. Because us loud people, we get told a lot that we're really loud. So, you know, I'm very self-conscious of myself. So I do try my damnedest. Like if I'm in a bar and we're drinking, I'm I'm gonna be loud. It's a social house. That's the point of a bar. Anywhere in the world, I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Look, I've only been to 2 countries outside of the US, so I'm trying my best, okay? But yeah, I feel like even us loud ones, we're pretty receptive to, hey, not the place to be loud right now, and we'll usually chill. But you are able to be polite and loud. Do you ever feel lucky that you live in the US? Sometimes, you know. Most days, I see birth as a lottery. Some people win the whole thing. Others win a portion, but most don't win anything. Being born rich into a powerful family is the biggest jackpot. Being born in a peaceful, prosperous democracy is the second biggest prize. And I know that I personally would not really categorize us as a peaceful, prosperous democracy right now with all the horrible treatment that's going on for workers and artists and just the dehumanization that we're going through right now. People in the Depression had an easier time making money than we do in some areas at the moment. We'll get through it. We always do one way or another, no matter who's trying to block said progress. You can't stop progress. You can't stop us. You can't stop humans. We will get through it one way or another. Some days I do feel like I won that second biggest prize. Other days, I wonder why I don't move to Finland and buy a home there and live out my days creating content with the person I love, when over here it's incredibly impossible to even think about owning a home. Some days I wonder. Most of the days, though, I do feel pretty lucky. Today, I became an American. What does being an American mean to you? I'm filled with emotion and feeling proud when I got my naturalization certificate. I'm originally from Iraq, and I'm trying to hear from y'all, you got the y'all, what makes you proud of being an American? And what does being an American mean to you? This one, I'd like to see what Reddit has to say. Hey man, you tell us. I was just born into it. You worked for it. Props and welcome. Congrats and welcome. There are more than 330 million perfectly valid meanings of being an American. The cool thing is, you get to say what that means to you. To me, it's just the ability to be surrounded by anyone and everyone from around the world, whether they were born here and their family came over on the Mayflower or some like that, like my friend Zach, who can trace his lineage back to that ship, or, you know, you moved here and you wanted to make it happen, like you did. I think it's fantastic being in a place that's not just, well, you know, one thing. We are the melting pot. I love being a part of the melting pot. You get to experience so much. I do wish a lot of things were different, though. Like, for instance, we were taught a different language when we were very young, because I gotta tell you, waiting until high school, that doesn't really work. We should be learning that crap real young like the rest of the world does. Do I love having the US as my neighbor? This will probably get deleted because rules, but I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful that you people are my neighbors to the south. I'm in Alberta, Canada, and have been thinking about this often in the last several years. You people rock, blemishes and all. I'm very, very thankful that we're bound by land and sea, a Canadian. To this day, one of my favorite videos on the internet, and I might even still have the top comment on this thing, was a hockey match, or game, or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. Not the point of the story. Where someone was singing our national anthem, which I'm not a fan of, but you know, it was just boring. Let's make it funky, you know? But the mic gave out, so everybody in the audience, Canadian or not, finished the anthem. And I thought that was the sweetest in the world. Do you really feel safer owning a gun? And if you do, why do you feel safer? I'm genuinely interested in your answers, as I can't imagine owning a gun and feeling comfortable having one. Please don't downvote me into oblivion. I am curious. I don't know. I don't own one. I do plan to at some point, but that's just because of vague threats and headlines scaring me. I don't think I would feel all that much safer having, like, a shotgun in a safe in the basement. If something really, really horrifying awful were to actually happen, it's not going to do me much good. Sure, if I'm going down, I'm not going down alone, motherfucker. You know, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know. I think most people, just for some strange reason, are afraid to admit that at this point in time, they're just fun toys. Like, sure, they are designed to kill people and things, whatever, but, I mean, most people are just taking them out to the range to hit targets. It's like archery, but louder, you know? I feel like a lot of people are just really scared to admit that they just think they're fun, which is okay too. You can think that going to the shooting range is fun, dude. No one goes to shoot a minigun because they're thinking about buying one for the house. They go because it's exciting as shit. It's exhilarating to feel like you're the Terminator for a couple of seconds. It's cool as hell, right? But I don't know. That's just me. That's just my one take on it. There's There's a lot of guns here, dude. I live next to a guy called the Dragon Man. If you don't know who that is, you should look him up. I'm not kidding. I could drive to him in like 30 minutes right now. Hey, take care of yourself, okay? I just don't want any more or anyone to get hurt. Much love from Malaysia. You know, like I said, I feel like by and large, because that is a saying, that's not just the store from Wally, things are okay. I do genuinely believe that. It just sucks because on the internet, yeah, I'm that guy, all the headlines and media outlets do want you to think something different. Our want and need for mental health is constantly at war with our want and need to be informed, as most citizens should. We should be informed. But we're often informed about only negative things, no matter how small that negative thing might be in the current moment. That's all we're told about. We don't get very many happy, fun stories, and a lot of those happy, fun stories that we get are still really bad because they really poke at or prod at the underlying problems that we are still dealing with, and we all realize it. We do, okay? Like I said before, most days I feel like I won that lottery. Some days I do not. I want people to see America for what it is, for a place where we try to be friendly, we do our best to love thy neighbor, we really do try to be good people, we want to welcome everybody. That's what this country was all about, despite its disgusting history and horrible things that will still happen, like in every country. I want people to see America for that. I don't want people to see America as the nosy asshole that tries to run the world. I know that's really difficult, always butting in and doing things here and there, or trying to help. Sometimes that backfires, you know, whatever. I just want people to see it for the good, just like anybody would. No one wants to see their home as only the bad parts. It's good to know about them. You should always know about the bad parts so that you can be better going forward. And as all of us as individuals, we're gonna get better going forward, so as a whole, we'll only get better going forward. Sorry. Sometimes I want to get a little sappy and let y'all know that I'm not actually the furious, horrifying weirdo that just gets mad at stuff all the time. I like this subreddit. I think if there's more to be had there, we should absolutely stick around because America's so big, I'm learning shit, and that's kind of fun.